like to call this meeting, call this regular board meeting to order at 5:15 p.m. Christina, would you please call the roll?
Baines.
Here.
Grant.
Present.
Hardin.
Present.
Heredia.
Here.
Kaplan.
All right, so NUS board meetings are live streamed and recorded at the direction of the board. The live stream is available for viewing at natomasiunified.org Board of Trustees/video/. And the recordings will be available for viewing the day after the board meeting. Those in attendance here this evening should expect that the recordings will capture all activity and discussions before, during, and after meetings. At this time, the board will be going into closed session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation. Are there any people wishing, is there anybody wishing to address this item? All right, seeing none. Christina, did we receive any e-comments for any of the closed session items?
We did not receive e-comments for any closed session items.
Then at this time, we will return about approximately 5:30 p.m. Okay, so we are reconvening this meeting at 5:36 p.m. And I will ask Christina to please call the roll.
Baines.
Here.
Grant.
Present.
Hardin.
Present.
Heredia.
Here.
Kaplan.
All right. And then Trustee Hardin, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Unfortunately, I'm unable to
Okay.
do
All right.
leadership position.
All right.
Trustee Grant.
Trustee Grant.
All right, ready, pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this evening, no action was taken in closed session. So this evening, we had planned to recognize our Natomas Unified Teachers of the Year and our 2020-21 District Teacher of the Year. We will be rescheduling tonight's recognition for a future board meeting. Thank you to all our Teachers of the Year for your commitment to NUSD students. We look forward to celebrating each of you at a future board meeting. In addition, we will be moving our Hispanic Celebration Month to a future meeting as well. And as always, we look forward to celebrating this occasion. In addition, we will also be postponing action item A on tonight's agenda, and the superintendent will make a statement when we get to his agenda size communication time. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda, removing celebrations B and C and action item A.
I'll move the amendment, or move the agenda as amended.
Okay, moved by Trustee Kaplan,
Second.
second by Trustee Grant. Christina, would you call the roll, please?
Baines.
Aye.
Grant.
Aye.
Hardin.
Aye.
Heredia.
Aye.
Kaplan.
All right, motion carries 5-0. So tonight we do have a celebration that we're going to follow through on, and we are going to be celebrating the swearing in of our new student board member. I'm proud to introduce and welcome Nisma Wali Ali. For members of the public viewing this meeting, a student board member plays an essential role by casting a preferential vote on this board. The preferential vote is a symbol of student opinion. This year, Indercombe High School had the opportunity to select a student representative to serve on the Board of Trustees for 2021 through 2022 school year. Senior Nesma Wali Ali was chosen. So Nesma was born and raised in Sacramento. She attended Natomas Park Elementary, Natomas Charter Performing and Fine Arts Academy, and currently Indercombe High School, where she is in the International Baccalaureate program. She lives with her parents and sister, who is currently gearing up for law school. Her favorite subject in school have always been the humanities, in large part because she loves interpretation and analytical thinking. In school, she is a member of the Black Student Union, co-president, founder of Intercom's Muslim Student Association, member of National Honor Society, French Honor Society, and Book Club. She is also a leader in Link Crew and Corps. Outside of school, she is the chair of a local youth philanthropy group called the Grants Advisory Board for Youth, and the co-president and co-founder of Youth Voices Sacramento, small advocacy-based nonprofit for youth. In addition, she is a returning youth intern for Summer at City Hall, a program that aims to help youth get involved and interested in local government. She was also a contributor on the Mayor's Climate Change Equity Technical Advisory Committee and recipient of the Nancy and Cliff Forrester Lifelong Learner Award. After graduation, she hopes to cultivate her passion for community betterment and service by attaining a bachelor's degree and attending law school. Nesma is interested in public interest law and helping to create a positive impact by fighting for civil rights and advocating for disenfranchised communities through legislation. We all welcome you, Nesma, and now we make you official. Please join me on the stage so we can administer the oath of justice. Oh, you have to raise your right hand. Okay. I, Nesma Wali Ali,
I, Nesma Wali Ali,
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will defend and support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
That I will bear true allegiance,
True
faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
That I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do I say how to sign up here?
Do I wait till the end? Okay, just.
Okay, we can get trustees to come, and then we'll have mom and dad join. Did you want? Come up a little bit closer. Yes, there, right? Yes. So maybe one hand from here and then yours. Not for everybody. All right, just this way.
So we're going to get a chance to hear from her a little bit, oh, very soon, a little bit later. So I'm moving on now to, I'm moving on to the communications. And our association presidents for CSEA and NTA were given the opportunity to either provide their communication in person or submit their communication via email prior to the board meeting. Is there anyone here this evening wishing to speak on behalf of either of those organizations? All right. So Christina, did we receive communication via email from the association reps?
We did not receive any communications via email.
Okay. Then at this time, I'm going to call on our new student board member. And I know she probably has something that she wants to share with us.
Thank you. I want to extend my deepest appreciation for my appointment to this body, and in this role, I pledge to do my utmost to be an accurate and passionate voice for youth of this district, understanding that no student body is a monolith, not one school, let alone 21 that constitute the Natomas Unified School District. I commit to be a voice for youth and youth interest on this board and be a vessel at these meetings for the wants and needs of students belonging to this district. Youth input in matters that affect us is an integral part of what I plan to work towards in this position and would like to express again my excitement and eagerness to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the trustees. Trustee Baines, do you have anything you'd like to share this evening?
No report. Nasima, welcome to the board. Look forward to working with you.
All right, thank you. Trustee Grant?
No report. Nesma, welcome. It's going to be a privilege to serve with you.
Trustee Harden?
No report, and I too think it's going to be a pleasure to work with you. Congratulations.
Trustee Kaplan?
No report and ditto. Welcome.
And for me also, no report, but we are so excited to have you serve on this board. All right, Superintendent Evans.
Thank you. This afternoon, we announced the teacher who has been the source of media coverage these last 2 days was placed on paid leave because of his actions and choices in the classroom. The Natomas Unified will be taking the legally required next steps to place the teacher on unpaid leave and terminate the teacher. The Natomas Unified supports individual freedoms and freedoms of expression. This case is not about that. The totality of classroom decisions and choices made by the teacher violated district policies, state education code, and broke a trust with our students and families that they expect history, social studies teachers to teach civics without bias or favoring their own personal beliefs. They must share facts and information around differing perspectives as well. Our communication today outlined what we had learned by midday through midday today. When you take the totality of the teacher's actions, it made the district's next steps necessary. Also, as per the action item, I appreciate the President's support for allowing me to pull action item A. Tonight is not the right time. Natomas Unified has other priorities. And I would also like to say congratulations, Nesma, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Superintendent Evans. So, members of the public this evening were given the opportunity to attend this board meeting in person or to give public comment or submit public comments via e-comment at publiccomment@natomasunified.org. Please note that presentations from the public are limited to 2 minutes regarding any items that is within the board's subject matter's jurisdiction, and that Governance Code Section 54954.2A limits the ability of board members to respond to public comments. So I have a lot of green slips here this evening. Christina, do we have anything that you'd like to share that was received earlier today?
Yes. We have received a couple of e-comments. So we received an e-comment from Rosalind Bell in regards to the support for the work being done by Dr. Akonafua. And then we received public comments from the following individuals in regards to a teacher at Indercombe High School: Donnie Payne, Jennifer Maloney, Jackie Carrera, Julie Miller, Harry Domi, Doug Swire, Sony Phillips, Abel Para, Cassandra Games, Alexis Miller, Lisa Steiner, Anna Christensen, Sergio Weekly, and Padres Organized Community. I've also seen a couple just come through, so those will be forwarded to trustees and included in the minutes, as well as all the ones I just read.
Right. Thank you, Christina. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have these requests to speak in person to us before the board. And you are given, again, 2 minutes to speak before the board. We ask that you please follow that guideline. And I will also call people up in the order that these forms were received. If I mispronounce your name, I apologize in advance. Some people I can read your writing, others I can't, but I will do my very best to make sure that all of you get a chance. So I'm going to call out the first 3 names so that you can make your way to the podium if you are out in the hall. Timothy, I believe it's Snowball, Lance Christensen, and Mr. Gomez, and Richard Bowfinger. All right, thank you, Richard. All right. So in that order that I called your name. Thank you.
Their political questions. How can we explain this shift? I think this situation is best explained by the current operation of public sector labor unions like the Natomas Teachers Association and the larger California Teachers Association with which it is affiliated. These entities no longer consider themselves organizations advocating for the wages, hours, and working conditions of their members, but rather as social justice organizations pushing a radical agenda to tear down and fundamentally transform American society. The board should immediately take all actions necessary to ensure that classrooms in this district in the future, not just the past, remain free of the political agendas of individual teachers and labor unions, and that children here receive an education rather than an indoctrination. Thank you.
So, Mr. Christensen, just before you speak, can you see I cannot see the monitor there, okay. Right, I'll rely on, I can't see it either. Oh, okay, we can't see it. The green, yellow, whatever it is, red.
Trustee Heredia, I know this may be unpopular, but I would like to request, as it is required of all of our students and staff, that everybody in this room wear a mask for my safety and my children's safety, if they're up here and speaking.
Let's get on with it. Go. Let's go. We've all been in here without a mask long enough. We can speak without
So I will say this, is that if you have a mask and if you are concerned about your own safety and those around you, that you please put on a mask to protect those. So, okay, all right. Go ahead.
Thank you for your time, Board President, board members, and Superintendent Evans. I appreciate it. We're gathered here today because we have teachers who've decided to become indoctrinaires and not educators, and that's a challenge. One of the challenges I saw tonight was that the teachers union decided not to show up and defend this teacher. The question is, how many other teachers and actions have they defended in the past that have not been appropriately dealt with? I would encourage all teachers within the sound of my voice to reevaluate their membership within the Natomas Teachers Association or the California Teachers Association. These two organizations do more to harm the education of our kids than most other organizations in the state. Going forward, I appreciate that you're working through a thorough and investigation into this teacher. I hope that it continues, but I also hope that you look for those other teachers for which the previous teachers indicated are in the school district and still teaching. We have got to give parents a chance to choose for the best of their kids' education and opportunities for the future. Again, you have scores of parents and concerned citizens behind me. And at the California Policy Center for which I work, we're dedicated to helping those that don't want to be a part of their union to leave. You can go to mypaymysay.com and leave your union and save your money and save our children. Thank you for your time.
For Gomez, was it Paisley? Thank you, that's okay. I speak for my son and any child who doesn't have a parent to be their voice. What has been exposed about Gabriel Gipe by Project Veritas is exactly what I was concerned about happening at Babcock Elementary, Twin Rivers Unified School District, whom was and is not allowing parents or guardians on campus. As educators, your job is academics, not morals, not values, religion, political ideology, or anything outside of academics. We have 24 Sacramento students who are abandoned in Afghanistan. You guys are sitting here saying you have somebody preaching communism on paid leave. Do those lives mean nothing to you? What will you say to those children's peers who are asking, where are my friends? When are they coming home? And you stand by this man preaching Antifa and communism in our classrooms. A disgrace. Any teacher or staff pushing anti-American, hateful, or political agendas against America on our students, families, or communities, we want you out. Now. Not paid leave and not in a week or two. Now. That's right. Sacramento is not a city that raises our children on hate, racism, or a victim mentality. We raise our children to be strong, independent, and to stand up for what's right, and to speak up when it is time to speak up, like now. God rest our troops who we have lost in Afghanistan. God bless our citizens and allies still trapped in Afghanistan. We are praying for your safety and protection, and may God be with us all.
I want to commend the board for taking the right action and terminating this guy. The board needs to take notice that the parents in this district want their kids taught skills and knowledge that will help them to be productive members of this society and of this country to whom we have just finished pledging our allegiance to. Not to be disruptors and to participate in the overthrow of their parents' values or the values of the founding of the United States of America. Having had this man's blatant abuse of his position go on for the last several years that he's been here, casts a shadow of doubt over the management of who's hiring and who's evaluating what's going on in our classroom. And I want to exhort the board members to pay much closer attention to the core the core purpose that this district was founded for, and that is to educate our kids, not to indoctrinate them. Thank you.
Okay, Richard Gilbert, Monique Hochman, Jennifer Lane, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this, Veritas. Project, I'm sorry. I'm trying to, I recognize that, but I'm trying to, didn't know if you put another name in front of there, I couldn't see it.
Good evening. My name is Richard Gilbert. I'm a Natomas Unified parent. Some of my best experiences in high school were discussing current events and social issues in my classes. But not once did I ever know how my teacher felt about those things. I had my suspicions, everyone's human, but I never knew if he was a Republican or Democrat or if she was conservative or liberal. I didn't know. And that's the type of discussion I expect in our social studies classes in this district. I've heard, like everyone, anecdotes around the country of left-wing indoctrination in schools. And people would always tell me, oh, that's just an isolated incident, don't worry about it. Well, it's hit home for me now. And I'd like to say that I'm glad the board has taken this action to start the process to fire this individual. I know it's not something that can be done overnight. But this does not begin and end with him. He was enabled for years. Complaints were filed and nothing was done. And people bear responsibility for that, whether it's the principals, whether it's administration, whoever. And I ask for a full investigation to root this out, not just from Inderkum High School, but from this district. I will not stand by and allow my rights as a parent to be trampled. I have to be here today. And this is not limited, just for your information, it is not limited to Inderkum High School. With absolutely no warning, my daughter, who's a junior at MP3 High School, was told that her constitutional law class this year would be changed to social justice. No parent input was given whatsoever. I contacted the teacher. I was assured that critical race theory would not be taught. I was told that okay, I'll wrap it up, thank you, that this would not be an issue, but it has become one. And I just would like to end by saying this young woman tonight took an oath to defend the Constitution and to rid this country of enemies, foreign and domestic. I ask that all of you do the same. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Monique Hochman. We have been quiet for too long about you trying to take our rights away as parents. We were silent when you took away our medical and religious exemptions away for vaccinations and when they became mandatory for our kids to attend school. We were silent when you mandated these masks on our children. When the CDPH and Cal OSHA knows that at maximum they're worth 10% effective. We were silent and some unaware when you began mentioning sexual preferences in kindergarten. Yes. We have been silent when you began teaching explicit sexual education in 8th grade and not giving us this information ahead of time. High school, kids are having sex in the bathroom at Inderkum. They're vaping in the bathrooms at Inderkum. 4 guns were at the football game the other night, and you do not tell these parents anything. I know because I have a daughter there who tells me these things. Race is being taught. The first day of school that my daughter goes, her teacher tells her that white is the worst race there is. They tell her that you cannot be racist against white people. This is just too much. This man being fired is not everything that we want. We need our rights back as parents.
Just the beginning.
And we need to know what you're going to do to protect our rights and our children in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I also want to thank Project Veritas for exposing this, because without their due diligence, you guys would have done nothing, because you did nothing when these students complained. And when a student complained, Mr. Gipe stood up before the class and bullied him and said that if this flag bothers you, you must be who it's supposed to bother. He told the students to put their photos up on the wall to identify their ideologies. Children do not come to school to identify their ideologies. They come to school to learn to become productive citizens. My brother graduated from Intercom with a 3.9 GPA. He and his fellow peers, right after graduation, joined the United States Marine Corps. And I cannot imagine that if that person taught my brother what path he would have been on if he was brainwashed and indoctrinated in this crap that he is teaching, that you guys are paying him to teach, that we are paying him to teach. My brother is a proud Native American Marine, and my sign says, the motto in residential school was to kill the Indian and save the child. Mr. Gipe is killing the American child and saving communism. Is this a residential school or is this a public school?
I'll be doing this a little bit differently. I'll just make an announcement, and what I'd like to do is ask a question and cede a little bit of my time for Superintendent Evans. We've attempted to get comments from the school district. We attempted on the day of our investigation. However, we were turned away. In fact, the police were called. So I have a couple of questions, and it's simple. First, I think it's pretty clear that the current policies in place by the school district are not sufficient to monitor teachers' curriculum. And my question is simply, are there going to be a change to those policies? And then my follow-up question, Superintendent Evans, is obviously this investigation created results. Obviously, you acted off of our investigation. My question is, are you happy that we exposed this?
Unfortunately, public comment doesn't allow me, as the president shared, to exchange.
I understand, sir. Hopefully...
All right, so I think I noted
Evans,
earlier that,
if you're not willing to give a public comment now, I understand that based upon the rules of the decorum. If you'd be willing to speak with us afterwards, I think that would do a lot to alleviate some of the concerns. I've noticed you gave an interview to the Sacramento Bee.
Yes.
Hopefully you'll be open to speaking with us after this. We can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to meet with you later this week. Absolutely.
Okay.
Moving on to the next set of speakers. So Amir Deliri. Amir. No, okay. And then Sean McMurray, David Arya, and Jay Az. Okay.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Amir Deliri. I've got my 10-year-old son here. He's also a student in the Natomas Unified School District. Everybody knows why we're here. The indoctrination of our kids is unacceptable. There's a clear line in the sand that needs to be drawn. It's funny, I'm sitting here waiting for my turn to speak, and I see all the district goals, and it seems like that teacher has violated every single one of those goals. And it doesn't seem that there's been any accountability to the brave Project Veritas reporter who came to alert the school of child abuse that's happening. I want to quote Mr. Gipes. The reporter asked, how do you get the students to do this? He said, and I'm quoting, I scare the fuck out of them. Okay? That is child abuse. And this not only is his termination need to be taken effective immediately, but I believe a criminal investigation needs to happen immediately. More importantly is the accountability. If a reporter who comes and dons press credentials and says, hey, we have a clear case of abuse, we want to show you this video, and they're turned away and the cops are called on them, you guys are public servants. You're taxpayer funded. We pay everything here, right? It really comes down to accountability. Who's monitoring the classroom environment? Did somebody not go around and see? The only two flags that should be in a classroom are that one and that one. Amen. Nothing else. I think we're all pretty disgusted with the politics that are going on these days. It does not need to happen to my son, who's headed to public high school, or anybody else. Thank you.
My name is David Aria. I live here in the community, and I was shocked when I saw this on the news. I don't even hardly know what to say. Teaching communism in the public school system is complete. It's evil. It's nonsense, okay? I've been to the former Soviet Union 7 times. I know what they do over there. I've worked with communist refugees for 40 years, since I was 12 years old. I know what it means when an entire family is blown to pieces and killed, okay? That's where this is going. This is evil. It's darkness. It is hell. And these are criminals for abusing our children. They're principals. They are principals. They are co-conspirators. They are accessories, and they are principals in this crime. Okay? They need to be gone. All these people are criminals, and you need to treat them like criminals. All the principal, the vice principal, and the board has to go. I've heard that there's 2 other teachers teaching this evil in our schools. There are 3 teachers. That's evil. Little innocent children sitting here that I see, I look in their faces. They are pure innocence, pure love. And these evil people are putting stuff into them. Okay, this has got to stop. And all of you people out there, you're men, ex-military, ex-law enforcement, current law enforcement, I'm ex-law enforcement. You need to be on the front lines every day. Protect those children. If you do not protect your child, there is no need to be alive. There is no need to even have the United States. Okay? Everybody. Your neighbors need to be here. Your relatives, everybody. There is no excuse for communism on American soil. Okay? We need a criminal investigation, 273 subsection D. Okay? It's emotional damage. It's psychological damage. Look at the penal code. Federal, state, international law, all of it. I got 3,000 hours of current study. I know what I'm talking about. I got 100 pages.
Wow, how do you follow that? My name's Sean McMurray. I'm a parent of 2 students. One graduated from Indercombe and had this man's class last year, and my other son is currently going there. So I'm outraged, of course. I'm furious about this. I know the indoctrination in the schools have been going on a long time. We know that the Antifa organization is no different than the brown shirts were for the National Socialist Party before the Nazis came into power. We know that. And the fact that you have such a pedestrian response to what has happened, like, oh, just by the book. It's just, we just got to go by this section and that section. What about principals? What about the kids who have followed this man's path, went up to Oregon, maybe burned some buildings down there? What about them? I haven't heard anything about that. You know, maybe we should get a class action lawsuit, endangerment of a child. You know, maybe we should do that. So I want to thank Project Veritas, and as you guys sit up there behind your bureaucracy, I blame the leadership from the top down, because that's where it is. It's not an isolated incident with this guy. I've been in my child's classroom. I saw a Planned Parenthood sign. It was in Spanish. I decided to bite my tongue. That was about 4 or 5 years ago. But it's no place for the classroom. These kids are formative. It's time for them to start their individual creative thinking and not follow some psycho and become a useful idiot for a communist party.
right, so the next so the person that didn't come to the podium, Jay?
No, I'm here.
Where are you, Jay? Okay.
Take those gloves off. So my name is Jay Ash. I was born and raised here. I've lived here all my life. I've got 2 grandsons that are getting ready to go to Intercom. You feel this pain right here? It's not going away. The only question I got is, where does the fucking buck stop? This is bigger than one teacher. If this investigation doesn't expose everything, and you aren't above the board and transparent, I would challenge you to pick anybody out here to be on that investigative body. You're not going to get it done. And we're not going to be satisfied. This isn't going away. This is going to get a lot bigger. And if you don't have more of this, open discussions and revealing what's really going on in our schools, it's going to get uglier. It's really going to get uglier. There were so many red flags. The man had an Antifa flag behind his desk. He had Chairman Mao in the fucking corner. Are you kidding me? I hold administrators at that school. I hold the person at Harvard. I was a correctional officer. I retired from there. They went all the way back to my junior high school. How far did you guys go back? All you needed to look at is what his social community or clubs he belonged to. His tattoos probably told the story. So where does the buck stop? Is it with you guys? Because if it is, you better do your job and you better get it right. Because you're not going to get a second chance.
We'll expose them all.
The next set of speakers are Elise McKenzie is the first person, and Rory Lowe, Brittany Johnson, Luis Ortega, and Josh Fuller, and Chris Orr. In that order. Elise.
What's that?
All right, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, all right. So there, she's raising her hand. Are you? Okay, please come forward. Yeah, here she is. Okay.
You guys paid a terrorist to teach our children. This isn't Afghanistan.
Thank you for hearing me. I need to remove my mask to speak. I was frankly mortified when I saw that video. I tried to put myself in the place of a young student returning to school after a couple years of isolation and just the horrible things, the isolation and the lack of social contact. And I tried to imagine myself as that student returning to classroom and meeting this teacher, okay? He's a bully. He's not teaching what kids need to hear, what kids need to learn. He's not teaching for the student. He's teaching for himself. Half of these teachers that are in there, you guys should really, really take a long look at. They're teaching their crap. They're teaching it's their agenda. It's not what kids need to hear. It's not what kids should be learning. It's socialism, it's communism, it's beyond that. The flags he had on the wall, we've talked about that. He's had murderers on his wall. My family tree holds 2 murdered police officers. My nephew just flew the last C-17 out of Afghanistan, and my son's out on CAL FIRE. So I know what I'm saying when what America means to us, to our family, and to these kids. It is something special. We cannot have it be trod down in school. We cannot have our teachers putting down America, inciting racism, inciting all different types of things. These kids do not need to hear it. They do not need to be anywhere near that ideology. And I actually suggest that you get counseling for his former students. Thank you.
So,
could you state your name for the record, please?
my name is Christopher Orr.
And you guys fired Gabriel Gipe today because y'all got caught yesterday, you know. Okay, we, as people have mentioned, this guy had an Antifa flag on his wall. He had Chairman Mao on his wall. He was indoctrinating these kids every single day. He was abusing them, scaring them every single day. Where the hell was the principal? Where were the vice principals? Where was the other faculty at this school? Where was the superintendent? Where was the rest of the district? Where were you? You know, he was fired today. Why wasn't he fired a year ago? Why wasn't he fired 2 years ago? Why did this go on for so long? Why are you only doing anything about it now? Because you got caught. Exactly. Okay, and you guys, you're going to be held accountable. This is because of you. Okay, Gabriel Gipe is a symptom, not the sickness. The sickness is in the district. It's in the school. It's everywhere. And people are sick of it. We're aware of it. We know what's going on, especially now, and we know what you're doing, and we're not going to let this go. You can't just fire this one guy and then just call it quits, and it's done. It's not done. You're going to have to do something about this. We want the policy of the schools, the written policy change. We want you to follow the rules you're already supposed to be following. We want an investigation, as other people have mentioned. We need to investigation of this, a criminal investigation by an unbiased third party, not an internal investigation where you guys will let yourselves off the hook. Okay, you have to be held accountable. Now, you could get ahead of this. You could do something about it. You can actually care about what the people in your community and the parents of these students that you're supposed to be taking care of, what they have said and what they care about, what they want, what the law-abiding citizens of this country and this community want. Or you can just double down and hide. It's not going to work because we'll be back. We'll be back. We're here today. We'll be here next week. We'll be at every freaking board meeting that you guys have. Okay? You have to do something. Do something now. Do something now.
Hi, my name is Brittany Johnson. I'm with KCRA 3 News. Just before I even ask my questions, is anyone from the board going to be available after to speak with us? And if not, then I'll ask my questions here.
He said later this week. Tonight.
I'm asking because we've been trying to get comment. We've been calling the offices. We've been emailing. So I'll ask my questions, just two that I have right now here are, have any prior complaints been made against Gabriel Gipe, and have they been reported to Indercombe High School? If so, what were those complaints? When did they happen, and what actions were taken by the school? And if no actions were taken, why weren't they taken? And then another question, the teacher in question, Gabriel Gipe, stated that other teachers do share his beliefs. Has the board taken steps to identify any of those teachers who may have been sharing their opinions in the classrooms? And if so, what actions are being taken? Will anyone be available after to answer those questions?
Who are the other two teachers?
Superintendent.
Thank you for your time.
You work for us. Stop paying communists to teach your kids.
Just today, KCRA.
Good evening. My name is Luis Ortega, and I'm a current resident here in the district. My son actually just recently graduated from Indercombe High School this past year. And with that being said, the reason why I'm here tonight is to voice my concerns. The starting revelation that was brought to my attention yesterday from a video that surfaced online of a teacher by the name of Gabriel Gipe. And my first initial thoughts upon viewing this video was disbelief, frustration, disappointment, and anger. Anger that a teacher at Indercombe High School, and I'm going to quote what he said openly, "I have 180 days to make revolutionaries." And his response, and they asked him, "How do you do that?" And his response was, "I scared the F out of them." As a parent, this is alarming. Alarming that the school staff, principal, vice principal, other teachers, and the faculty did nothing and allowed this indoctrination of these ideologies and beliefs to cultivate in his classroom. They did nothing. According to your statement that you guys released yesterday, that whenever civic education includes topics that may be controversial due to political beliefs or influences, instruction shall be presented in a balanced manner that does not promote any particular viewpoint. Are you going to sit here and tell me that Mr. Gipe, and the way he presented the material and subject matter is balanced and not promoting a specific viewpoint? Where is the American flag in his classroom? Where is the Constitution or literature, the Declaration of Independence hanging up in his classroom? Nowhere. Is it not the responsibility of the district to evaluate the teachers? Let me answer that for you. Yes, it is. According to your governing board, they expect administrators assigned to evaluate teachers shall be competent in the instructional methodologies used by the teachers they evaluate, be skilled in the supervision of instruction and the techniques and procedures related to the evaluation of the instruction. It is your responsibility to know what he's teaching. And it's been going on for years, and you allowed it to happen. That tells me that you're not even following your own governing board, your own rules. You're responsible for that.
Yep.
Why? Why allow this to go on?
All right,
The school district has failed, in my opinion, and I'm going to finish with this last thought.
All right.
Because you've allowed this indoctrination of Mr. Gipe and his political ideology to flourish in his classroom. You have an opportunity to correct this. Everything has been brought to light, and like everyone is saying, it does not end with Mr. Gipe. There are some deep-rooted issues within this district.
Ask you please to,
and I hope you guys make the right choice and make a change with this.
Good evening. My name is Rory Lowe, and although I do not have a student at Intercom, I am a member of this community and a parent myself. I'd like to start off by saying that I am neither far right nor far left in my political ideologies. I am very neutral in my stance. I have not come before you this evening to discuss politics. The infamous video of Mr. Gipe was sent to me by my son due to the fact that I live in North Natomas. I got about midway through the video and had to pause it. It infuriated me. I was shocked that a person like Mr. Gipe was being permitted to teach the children in my community. In the statement given by the Natomas Unified School District, you refer to balanced instruction as it pertains to controversial topics. It is very difficult for me to believe that a teacher with such radical views could lead a balanced discussion. As with most things in life, an element of bias is almost always present. I find it difficult to believe that his harsh views of government and society are not trickling down into his lectures to our students. I find his teaching methods to be similar to those of grooming. He is an authority figure whose life experiences and intellect far outweigh those of his students. Prior to this meeting, I had heard at least one of his students come to his defense, arguing that he is an intelligent, kind, helpful person and does give two sides to his lectures. I have no doubt that some of his students do in fact feel this way. As far as I can tell from his video, Mr. Gipe is a predator of sorts. Predators often possess all of these qualities. It is how they gain trust. When a child trusts the person in front of them, manipulating that child becomes that much easier. Shaming students who do not subscribe to his radical views seems acceptable to him and his environment. But let's be clear, it is not. It is not acceptable to ridicule, name call, or disregard a student, their parents, or any of the religious beliefs that may drive their actions or beliefs simply because they do not coincide with his. This man is a danger to the minds of these children, and I ask that the district revisit their vetting process for future hires. Thank you.
Josh Fulfer. First off, I think one of the things that we need to worry about the most, you said you're going to take action, but in his own video, he said there's other teachers at this school that share his same beliefs and teach in the same way he does. I also want to turn this around and get a little people mad at me. It is your guys' fault, but it's also the parents' fault. When Common Core came out, we let you slide. When all this sexual ed came out, we let you slide. I don't think there's time for any more. And for all these people to be shocked somehow that Antifa's new or hasn't been around, you've had a bunch of proud patriots standing the front line against these commie bastards for quite a long time. And you've allowed the fake news to destroy them instead of destroying the communists. It's all part of a bigger plan. You guys should be held responsible. Honestly, I'd be ashamed to go out and get coffee tomorrow morning. When you think about the history of this country and what we used to do to folks that would do something such as child abuse to our children, and that man's still enjoying life right now. Unfortunately, you guys have a lot to do, and I don't know what the community is going to do, but I challenge the community right now. If I come back in 6 weeks, I want to see just as many people here until they actually fix this, and maybe you people on this board are the wrong people to be here, but again, there's been people fighting this for quite a long time, and they've been the ones that's been the bad guy. It's time to change this. I tell everybody that's in this thing, it's time to come back and take America back.
The next speakers are Robert Rossi, and then Casey Clay, and then Jennifer Kelly, and then Salvador Jaime, and then Matthew Francis. Robert Rossi is next.
Hello. I would like to defer to the woman with the baby. She could take my place since I'm not sure where she went, though. Then I'll be after her, or however.
Good job. Traditional values.
I just ask that you state your name for the record, please.
Yes, Nicole. Do you need a last name, or? It's Howard.
Okay, Nicole, thank you.
Sorry about that. I've been a Natomas resident since 2015. In the last 6 years, I've embraced the harmoniously diverse portrait of our community. People from all different walks of life is what makes us unique. I was raised with an open mind and to respect people for who they are, even if they differ from me. These last 18 months have been the worst times I've ever seen. People are no longer respecting each other for their differences in opinion. They're now pointing the finger and blaming each other. This is a time and place. This is not a time and place for expressing our individual beliefs, but a school is not one of them. Under no circumstances should a teacher bestow, recruit, or incentivize a student to conform to their belief system. The last time I checked, this was not part of our school curriculum. I'm here on behalf of my sister-in-law. She couldn't attend tonight. My nephew was Gabriel's student. Gabriel is not a teacher. He's trying to teach our students about his communist beliefs. What I saw yesterday was an irrational person on a mission to form an army of communist revolutionaries. Never in my life have I witnessed this type of inappropriate behaviors from someone whose job it is to educate our students. These young adults have been through so much stress and trauma recently. The last thing they need is a power-driven Antifa member persuading them to join his army and hate those that have a difference in opinion. No political opinions of any teachers should ever be forced upon our students. This is not all about left or right. This is about what's right or wrong. We demand the termination of this man now, yesterday. Why are we waiting? And an investigation amongst the other teachers who share these same ideas, who are implementing these ideas on our children. No child should ever be subjected to these radical ideologies.
Thank you for your comments.
He is a humiliation to our community and endangering our students. He is the division amongst us that needs to be depressed. How dare he show up to deliver on this communist messages.
Listen to her.
Gabriel, I hope you're just as uncomfortable as you made our students.
Hello, members of the school board.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Robert Rossi. I'm a resident of Natomas. I would like to ask the members of the school board if they teach their children, foster children, or any young relative or any young person they are custodian of that they should join the anti-fascist action. Or teach them if they feel uncomfortable about themselves, then they should change their gender. Or teach them to support Planned Parenthood, or teach them that they are living on stolen land, or that communism is better than capitalism. Do they teach them that Republicans are Nazis? I ask everyone, if Intercom Public Taxpayer High School teacher Gabriel, however you say his name, Gipe, wanted to turn his students into a communist revolutionary, scare the shit out of them, make them feel uncomfortable, and promote the things I have mentioned, would you want your child in this school environment? Would you want the teacher terminated? Would you want to know why he was hired? Would you want his teaching credentials removed? Think about the students that felt tortured, knowing that they could not speak out. Public K through 12 education should focus on core reading, writing, and mathematics. It should be a positive learning environment, not a radical education. I have the pictures of the posters that hang in the classroom, which I found out are now taken down. Thank you. If the Supreme Court can find the 10 Commandments unconstitutional to be posted in our public classrooms, then how can this be any different?
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so it was Casey Clay, and then Jennifer Kelly, and Salvador Jaime, and Matthew Francis, and Christine Fish.
Casey Clay. Just looking out and seeing masks, it's like hiding. Yeah, it's actually quite sickening. So I have three kids. One graduated from Intercom. The other two are juniors. And like one of the other parents stated here, my kid that graduated loved Intercom. Diversity, everything that we have to offer. When I heard about this, I wasn't surprised. Last year, listening in was an eye-opener. And my juniors, I ask a lot of questions. And we have open communication, which is good. Not a lot of people get that from their kids. And that's why teachers, it's important not to be indoctrinating them, because they look at teachers as respected adult figures. It's not your position. It's not your position to tell your opinions or your thoughts. You can be caring without telling your opinions and your thoughts. But what really upset me was a history class that was going into current events when it should have been world history. Why aren't you teaching about communism, teaching about things that our kids need to know and what is going on there? So I asked the question. I tell my kids, you know what, I need to bring this up. They're scared that they're going to get a failing grade for a parent sticking up because it's happened before. And I know this to be true because my graduated son of 2 years ago had experienced this. It's not okay. It's not okay to do that. And keep checking, seriously? I'm done.
Yeah, get off your laptop. Seriously, Lisa Kaplan.
I wrote this down and I don't have my glasses, so I don't know how much this is going to help. My name is Jennifer Kelly. I'm a concerned parent, concerned neighbor, retired police officer, deputy sheriff, coroner, firefighter, EMT, flight nurse. I practice medicine as a nurse practitioner. I volunteer at CASA, that's a court-appointed special advocate for foster youth. And what else? Anything else? I say this, and I'm a mandated reporter. And when I saw this video, I was shocked, especially coming from Intercom. I mean, any high school anyways, but especially Intercom. The problems that I have is that when you send a child to school, you have the student handbook. There's no bullying, there's no ostracizing, there's no discrimination, there's yada, yada, yada. And then, but you have someone that's in a position of power. When you have a teacher, that ups the game. And it's great that he's fired, but as a mandated reporter, who filed the CPS report? Yeah. This needs to be done. Yes. CPS and a complaint needs to be filed to the district attorney to file charges. Investigation needs to go into the other teachers. I'm trying not to repeat what everyone else says, but because I said all my credentials, I wanted to let you know that they're not just saying that they want this because they don't know what they're talking about. They do know what they're talking about.
Amen. They don't want it, they demand it.
The other thing is there needs to be counseling for these children.
Right.
Yep.
It's huge. I mean, these kids are terrified, and it's going to affect them for the rest of their life. Okay, thank you for your time.
Once again, my name is Eduardo. Last name Jaime. Thank you once again for not canceling the meeting. First of all, I'll make it quick. I happen to be one of those parents whose daughter was in his class. You know, I was proud to know that she was taking an AP class, that she's looking forward to college. Then I come across the video yesterday. I'm still a little shocked, still going through the emotions. I contacted the school. I believe I spoke with Vice Principal Brian. He actually, I have to say, I felt his heart is in the right place. I said, what's your opinion? Is that what you guys' policy is? He said, no. I said, well, what am I going to do? I know it's a teachable moment for me, but what can I do as a parent? And I didn't think he was going to say anything. He said, you know what? You're doing the right thing. If you care about it, you're calling us. If you care about it, then go ahead and go to the meeting and let him know how you feel. I talked to my daughter, and the guy seems very nice, whatever. The first thing that he said to them, to the students at the beginning, the same thing that he said on the video. I have 180 days to turn you guys into revolutionaries. That's how he started the year, okay? Now they asked him, well, you know, what's going on? He said, I can't tell you anymore. He said, I don't know you guys yet. So from the very beginning, he planted the seed. And this guy is in a position of power. And part of me feels bad for the guy. You know, he went to Sac State, he's a local guy. But, you know, you guys have to educate, not indoctrinate. It's part of me feels hopeless almost. That is, you know, he's right. We keep moving to the left, 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 left. They're now putting posters of Mao. I could just go on, but I don't want to vent. Thank you guys for taking action. I'm going to hope that you guys are doing it because it's the right thing, and not because you're being forced to do it. Once again, I don't want to know your political ideology. I don't care. I don't want radical left, radical right. I don't want that in the classrooms. I can't believe that we got into that point where a teacher is actually bold enough, a Marxist, an Antifa terrorist. I mean, it's just,
all right.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matthew Francis. This is my son. He graduated this year. Okay. He went through hell last year, and you put all of us on the front line last year. we got to see everything that was going on. You have the men in blue here to protect you guys. They should be knocking on that door, arresting that man. I have nothing but respect for these men in blue as much as all these people do. If it weren't for these people, he'd probably be dead, because people like this lifted him up. Do you guys know how much teenage suicide happened last year?
5 times.
That's what we should really be talking about. That's on you guys. All of it. I want to ask for your resignation. You guys don't deserve this job. There's many people in this room that can do your job 1,000 times better. I promise you, I'm one of them. Because I care about children. I don't think you guys do. Or you wouldn't let this kind of stuff happen. This is ridiculous. I got this video this morning, and let me tell you, I'm not shocked. Why? Because there's another teacher right down the road at Leroy Greene Academy who did the same thing to my son and to many others. And you people know who it is. I'm not even going to mention the name, because thank God for these people, because I'm going to go talk to them, and they're going to do another video. Because you're going to see another video as soon as they get to talk to me. I promise you that. You already know his name. I don't even got to mention it. I'm appalled that that man is still teaching at my daughter's school. I cannot believe it. My daughter is taking AP World History. She's so uncomfortable with taking the class. You know why she's taking that class? Because I wouldn't let her be in this other person's class. That's on you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Christine Bish. I'm a candidate for Congress in this area. I'm here to speak on behalf of the number of teachers that contacted my campaign because they're afraid. They're afraid to speak out, that you won't defend them against the teachers' union, that will have them railroaded out of their jobs, out of their careers, which will ultimately railroad them out of their homes. The majority of teachers, I believe, are good. They have a passion, went through everything it took to get through school, to get the teaching credential, and want to be in a beautiful school district. This should be the flagship for Sacramento, one of our most technologically advanced high schools, and we have students afraid to go here. I know of one board member here who has consistently fought for the students and for the teachers that are afraid to stand here and say this. I'd appreciate it if you didn't play with your phone while I was speaking. You need to look at me. I'm paying you the courtesy of standing here speaking to you, so looking away. Now we know what happened. We know what happened when the children came to the school board, to the principal, to their counselors, and begged for help because they were being tortured and indoctrinated by a teacher. Because you turned your head away. You decided to play with your phone. You're going to see plenty of your face on social media when these people leave here. There may be lawsuits, but what I can tell you is I've had multiple teachers tell me they have complained. They've had students complain. They've had parents complain. We need a full and thorough criminal investigation from the bottom up, from the janitors all the way up to the superintendent, to find out who was ignored. And to the one person I know on this board that has consistently fought for the rights of the students and to take care of the teachers here, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the mic wasn't on, I'm sorry. Cassian, Maria, Kyle, Wendy Montez, Kyle Myers, Mike Mann. Let's see. I'm sorry, and then Rick Potts.
First of all, I would like to thank every parent that's in here right now. The second thing is, the reason why my daughter is standing behind me is because my job as her parent is to protect her from anybody that has ill will towards her. So being that this is her first year at this high school that is world renowned and everybody knows about this school, it's so perfect and everybody does everything right. The first time my daughter tells me, and she goes against my wishes to come out of a classroom that's disruptive to her well-being, I have an issue. I am very articulate. My children are very well read. They speak their opinion. They make sure that they are clear in what they do and do not like. And for the fact that my 17-year-old daughter had to come to me and said, "Mom, you don't understand. Let me explain." This means that in 2 weeks, in 13 days, he was allowed to change my daughter's mind about some fascist crap that y'all have let in this school. I'm tired. This is ridiculous. I'm from Texas. So this don't go on in Texas. This does not go on in Texas. There are 2 grades higher than California, period. So to think that my very sound-minded daughter would go against me and my wishes and our values in our home to be able to go and support this man and he is putting her in harm's way, what the hell are y'all doing? I'm tired. How long does it have to go on before somebody says something? How long? How long? What are you gonna do? That's the question. Get him out of here. We don't fucking care about this boy. He got to go.
Good evening. My name is Maria Pacelli, and 2 years ago, my youngest child graduated from Indercombe High School. I can tell you that there is a culture of toxicity at this school, and we tried to address it during his attendance there. When he was a sophomore, his first year there, he took an English class, and there was subtle indoctrination in the curricula. It is not just in the government classes that this toxicity and poison is occurring. It is in English classes. It is in art classes. We tried to address it through the proper chain of command, only to be told it would be taken care of. And here I am tonight, and he's graduated. I was born in Venezuela, and while I have been here in the United States for many years, my family, my father's side, is still there. So what I hear is second and third hand information. I do not want this place and this educational system to become Venezuela. And it is up to you. You have heard the people speak. You work for us. We expect you to do the jobs that you were elected to do. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the order. My name being called earlier. I'm actually a parent of a student in a local district. I actually walked with my social science major across the street from Indercombe High School. I have a lot of familiarity with school teachers in the area. I substitute in the San Juan School District. This is not an isolated incident. This is why I left teaching, because I can't deal with the politics here. My son, is trying to make it through another area. The video showed here of the issue. He's also facing similar issues in his school. The parents in this area are awake. We're going to be at all the meetings, letting you guys know. I'll give this to somebody else who's in the district. Thank you.
Before we take the next public comment, Madam Chair, I would like to motion for a 5-minute recess.
Looking for a motion. Need a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Trustee Baines. Do we need to call the roll on this or just take a?
Baines. Grant.
Aye.
Hardin.
Aye.
Heredia.
Aye.
Kaplan. Wally Ollie.
All right.
Aye.
All right. Meeting's adjourned for a brief break.
Yes, good evening, Governing Board, Superintendent Evans, Superintendent's Cabinet. My name is Roman Munoz. I am your General Counsel. I'd like to remind the Board that our Board bylaw for public comment on items not on the agenda are 2 minutes per speaker, 20 minutes total. We far exceeded that, and we have times to go through, and we have other presentations to make this evening.
And we will finish the public statements that we have, the public comments we have right now. And so these are the last ones that we have. I think there's about 14 or 15, and we will call them up. President Heredia.
All right. Rick Potts. Christina Castañares, John Doe, Dwayne, another John Doe. So I don't know who's in for John Doe tonight. Let me make sure. Dwayne, Jenny May, Deborah. I'm going to say Hosem, Robert Hosem. Okay, also. And Sachiko. All right?
Watts, please.
Yes.
Here. I mean, some of the times y'all can call in sick at certain situations, so I appreciate you guys being here. And for the parents and students behind me, if anything happens to you guys, whether it be minor or major, don't go to these people. You go to the police department first and file a report. Okay? Because I was put in that situation when I worked here. They threw me out like trash. And they kept the guy, he made $80,000 over here at Lodi Unified School District as a director of transportation. Isn't that great? Meanwhile, I suffered. I want to tell you a quick story, then I'll be out of here. I got ADD, so, when I was a senior in high school, I had history, and obviously the first report card was an F because, well, shit, that's how it is. But I had a really good teacher. And he sat me down and he said, read this book. You got to read it. I mean, it's going to be one of the best books you ever read. And I fell in love with this book. I really did fall in love with this book. And then now I look at what's going on now. It's the same similarities. It's what's going on in this country. And it's the Nazi. That's what it is. It's Nazi. You got to go back to the history books and you got to read the history book. All right, you got to just teach regular class. Leave the politics out. Because I'm telling you, communist is on its way, and if you allow these, is this guy fired yet? Is he fired? Just fire him. Fire him, find the other teachers, put them on paid leave, and have an investigation. Just do that. Who cares about the politics? It's the kids that count. I was worried about the kids when I went through my situation. I was really, really worried about the kids. And you threw me under the bus and threw me out like trash. Meanwhile, the guy was driving my route. He was a sick bastard. And he gets a raise and he's director of transportation at freaking Lodi.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Very good.
Okay. So before you speak, do you mind if I just need to gavel in and call the meeting back to order. I failed to do that, so I'm just going to call the meeting back to order at 7, I'll say 7, it was 7:20 when we came out here, 27 p.m. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have any kids at Intercom anymore, but they did attend Intercom High School a couple of years ago and last year. What I'm concerned about is the fact that we have taken God out of the classroom, but we're letting in this type of evil, which is socialism. Why is it that it's so hard to let God back in and have a balance? These kids that are being taught Marxism and socialism, if you guys have noticed, they are more depressive. They don't have accountability. They're always playing the victim. We need teachers that really care for our kids, not because of their agenda. These kids nowadays, with COVID, with the lockdown, they don't need socialism. What they need is accountability. And exactly from what I saw on the article, that he's saying, I'm going to scare the F out of them. And then now he's talking about he's scared for his life because Veritas put him out there. What kind of example is that to our children? And he's teaching our kids, high school kids, our future leaders. This guy and whoever is associated with him needs to be out of that environment where our kids are. I'm going to have grandchildren, and I don't want my grandchildren to be exposed to this. Unfortunately, all our parents here do not have the capability to homeschool or take them to private school. We are depending on you guys to give that kind of environment for our kids. Keep them safe. Do not send them to a depressive and a black hole state, because that is what's happening to our kids now. Look at them, talk to them, ask them, because right now these kids can't even speak up for themselves in the classroom because they're afraid they're going to get an F.
Good evening, y'all. So I have 4 school-age children, and as parents, we see this, but there's nothing we can say or we can do, or it's like our hands are tied and you all ignore it and act like it's not happening. The one time you guys get caught, I mean, what are you guys going to do? Just, act like you didn't know? Oh, come on now. You guys know what's going on. Hey, and I'd like to give a special... I'd like to give a special shout out to Gabe. Thank you for telling on all your buddies. Yeah. Hey, you freaking rat.
Hello, my name is Wendy, and as a former teacher, I know that we're not allowed to share our political views, and the students shouldn't know what we believe no matter what we're teaching. We're to teach the content and teach it professionally. Obviously, Gabriel did not do that, and we've heard lots of complaints about that tonight. But my concern is with the Facebook page that says Natomas Unified School Forum, and we have a board member, Lisa Kaplan, who is an admin for that board member, for that Facebook page. And today, when a parent asked to see the video, I posted the video from Project Veritas, the Facebook link, and her response was, "This is inappropriate for this forum and will be deleted. She says, "This is inappropriate for this forum and it will be deleted. Feel free to Google on your own." It's a Natomas Unified School Forum page that's public. And my response to that was, why are we censoring this? It's inappropriate what the teacher did. So you're censoring the parents from knowing what happened, and you have no problem with that, but you didn't censor the teacher. So he had it blatantly on his walls. So why are you censoring parents and not the teacher? Why is what we want to see inappropriate? His own words, why are his own words inappropriate? Because he's been caught, but what he's doing is not inappropriate.
You should be ashamed.
Way to call her out.
Marilyn Jackson,
Director at educationImpact.us. We are a California coalition of 18 organizations. We have conferences, workshops, and town halls to protect kids. Parents are already freaked out over the age-inappropriate sex ed and critical race theory. And now they find out that their kids are being indoctrinated and recruited by an Antifa teacher. In fact, there's a whole group of them here.
What happened with that?
I would like to draw the board's attention to the California Education Code, Article 4, number 5130. No teacher giving instruction in any school or on any property belonging to any agencies, including the public school system, shall advocate or teach communism with the intent to indoctrinate or to inculcate in the mind of any pupil a preference for communism. I believe you guys took an oath to uphold that.
There we go.
I ask you to consider the kids, the parents, the California Ed Code, and your legacy, your personal legacy, because the entire nation is watching. As of last month, 54 school districts and 135 school board members were targeted for recall. Parents are not putting up with this anymore. I urge you to dismiss the teacher and any other Antifa-affiliated teachers in your school district. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bobby. I'm a sophomore here at Inderkum. I go to school here. I am under all of your instruction. I was called last year, when I started freshman year under the lockdown, politically illiterate, and all of my beliefs politically illiterate under Gipe. A teacher I didn't even have. I didn't even know the guy. I was called politically illiterate for comparing his system and this entire system of the lockdown and all of that to socialism. Politically illiterate. Now, I have to say, I had a teacher before all of this, 8th grade, right before the lockdown happened, Mr. Fernandez. He escaped communist Cuba, moved to Russia, then that went communist, and we went to the Soviet state. Socialism takes your health care first. They own your body. Second, they take your education. They own your mind. This needs change. This needs change now. I don't know what else to say, but you all need to rethink all of this, and it needs change. I was in a class, I'm Jewish, I was in a class, and there was a Free Palestine sign next to a Planned Parenthood sign, flags of the LGBTQ, and women's rights. Do you not see the irony, the contradiction that's being taught? They were telling us we must identify with history personally. I need to personally identify with Hitler to know what he did wrong? No! Thank you. Thank you.
That was my son. My name is Deborah Hozempa. He's in 10th grade. The beginning of the year started with a history teacher. How incredible. In this class, which he just spoke of, he went to voice his discomfort. Because it's just something that, yes, there are times, whether you agree with it, whether you don't agree with it, but for these children to have to see these images for an hour and try to absorb them without any explanation of what they are or what it means to them, and they don't. They're just inundated with images without explanation. go along to get along. Well, he won't do that, and I won't do that. I do have a question in regards to curriculum. Last year, it was very difficult. I know the previous year, I was so excited. The school district bought new curriculum books. We got to go and pick and browse and see which ones and voted on them. So last year, he got all of his workbooks, his books, brought them home. Not one teacher used those books. They had their own curriculum. Where is that from? Is it approved by you? Do you know what each of those classes are teaching? You don't. Because in his history class this year that he had for a week, they took identity tests. They took personality quizzes. A 14-year-old taking a personality quiz in a history class. For what? Exactly how does that relate to history is the question. And that was his question. My husband, who's a psychology, data analytics person, said, you will not do this homework. We sent an email to the teacher saying, this is inappropriate. Give him a history assignment. She did, somewhat. Then the next day, same thing. But this time, he emailed his counselor saying, I think I need to be moved from the class. Then he was called up by the teacher, and she said, I think you need to be moved out of this class. So, I don't think that's fair for him. He didn't do anything wrong. She did. And she was uncomfortable, I think, with that fact, and the fact that we were pushing back. Time? It's time? Okay, so I have just one more minute. Why, even today, they have yet to crack the books? Why did we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on curriculum when they're not using it? That's my question I want to know. And if you know what the curriculum is. Because it's all worksheets and not books, including math.
All right, Madam Chair, I'm going to motion for another recess.
Second.
Second the motion.
Is there prior unanimous roll call without objection?